Hi everyone. In the last class, we have learned about heterotrophic nutrition, in that holozoic nutrition, saprophytic nutrition, and parasitic nutrition. In the holozoic nutrition, we also studied how the holozoic nutrition takes place in amoeba. Today, let us study more about how the digestion takes place in the human beings. So yeah, human being are a complex animal, as you know that, because you know that human being has got a giant body with two legs, two hands, so it has got a complex structure. So they have a complex digestive system also, not only complex structure, it also have got a complex digestive system. The human digestive system composed of alimentary canal and some accessory glands are also present. Here, what is digestion? So before learning about the digestive system of the human beings, so we have to know what is digestion. So as we know that we were learning about the heterotrophic nutrition, human being also comes under heterotrophic nutrition. So they cannot prepare their own food. They depend on the other organisms for the food. So they are called as heterotrophic nutrition. So as you know that they cannot prepare their own food, then they have to consume either a solid or a liquid form of the food. So even they also comes under holozoic nutrition. So when they are consuming the solid and the liquid food materials, that complex food materials has to be broken down into a simpler form. Otherwise, our cell cannot make use of that complex nutrient which is consumed by the human beings. That's the reason the digestion has to take place. So what is digestion? The conversion of the complex food into a simpler form is known as digestion. So now we'll see what is our digestive system of the human being consists of. As I told, the digestive system of the human being consists of a alimentary canal. What do you mean by alimentary canal? It's nothing but the passage where the food will pass is known as alimentary canal. The alimentary canal starts from the mouth. You can observe over here the mouth or a buccal cavity is this one, and we have got a tube like structure which we call it as a food pipe or esophagus, and then comes stomach, then comes the small intestine, large intestine, and the anus. So the alimentary canal consists of different parts such as mouth, then esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and the anus. A human digestive system not only consists of an alimentary canal, along with that, it has got some accessory glands. What is the glands? The glands are made up of specialized cells. As you know that human beings are also made up of cells. They are all multicellular animals. But there are some specialized cells which helps in secretion. So those type of specialized cell, we call it as a glands. So this glands also helps in the digestion. These glands will secrete some secretion, that juices will help in breaking the complex food into a simpler food. Why? Because these glands produce the juices. Those juices consist of a catalyst, enzymes, which helps in converting the complex food into a simpler form. What is that complex food? Will have the nutrient what we consume consists of carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, lipids, and all need to be converted into a simpler form such as glucose and amino acids and fatty acids. These can be absorbed by the cell, but they cannot absorb directly carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, and all. After the absorption, the cells can be using that glucose and all for the production of the energy, or for the growth it might be, or for the repair. So these glands also helps in the digestion. Now we'll see one by one what are the accessory glands helps in the digestion. So here you can see the liver. The liver will also helps in the digestion, because the liver will secrete a juice called as bile juice, which helps in the digestion. Then here you can just see the pancreas, a leaf-like structure. So this pancreas also helps in the digestion. So these are some of the accessory glands. Apart from that, in the buccal cavity itself, you have got the salivary glands, which also helps in the digestion. So now we'll see one by one, like what are the changes occurs in the each part of the digestive system. First, let us consider mouth. So here you can just observe the mouth. The mouth consists of a buccal cavity. We call some cavity what is present in the mouth. We call it as a buccal cavity. See, in this buccal cavity itself, you can see the salivary glands which are present over here. So these salivary glands will also help in the digestion. So we'll see what are the different parts which is present in the mouth. So the mouth will help in intake of the food. As you know that it's a holozoic nutrition. If it's holozoic nutrition, the first step is nothing but the ingestion of the food. Am I right? So here also there is a mouth which helps in intake of the whole food. After intake of the whole food, what should happen? It has to be chewed properly, grind properly. We cannot swallow in the same food inside because it has to be broken down into a small particles. That will be done with the help of the teeth. The buccal cavity consists of the teeth, and that helps in chewing and the grinding food. You might be knowing they've got different types of teeth, that is incisor, canine, molar and premolar. So you might have been knowing that incisor helps in cutting, then canine helps in tearing, and molar and premolar helps in chewing the food or grinding the food. So this is a function of the teeth. Once the food is chewed properly, then it can be swallowed very easily. That's the reason the teeth will help in chewing. Then you have got the tongue. So tongue will help in rolling the food, mixing the food with the saliva. Apart from that, the tongue consists of a receptor, gustatory receptor, which helps in taste. Isn't it? So that is known, that is a function of the tongue. So just imagine your favorite food. It might be dosa or it might be a burger, whatever it is. What happens? It's nothing but the water comes in the mouth, isn't it? Mouth watering, what we call it as. Why is it so? Because there is a gland present in the mouth. So what do we call that gland? As a salivary glands. You can just observe over here. Where is the salivary glands are present? Here. So in the buccal cavity itself, the salivary glands are present. So what's the function of the salivary glands? The salivary glands will secrete saliva. What does it secrete? It secretes the saliva. So the salivary glands function is nothing but secreting the saliva. The saliva helps in mixing of the food mixing of the food. Apart from that, it will make the food very soft, so that it will make it slippery, the food, so that you can swallow the food very easily. The saliva's function is nothing but saliva makes the food slippery, which make it easy to swallow the food. And not only that, the saliva consists of an enzyme. What is the name of the enzyme? Is nothing but the amylase. So saliva consists of an enzyme which we call it as a amylase. So here, what is the function of the amylase? What does it do? It converts the starch into maltose. I just told you that our food contains carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, lipids. Even in the carbohydrates, starch, sugars, everything will be present. That the digestion will start in the mouth itself. So that's the reason you might have heard parents saying not to watch TV while eating. Why? Or we are not supposed to talk while eating. So all these things will be instructions will be given by your parents. Why? Because you have to see the food, you have to smell the food, you have to taste the food. Then only the salivary glands will start secreting the saliva. Then if the saliva is not secreted, the digestion will be incomplete. So why? Because the saliva will help in mixing up of the food. Okay, then it also helps in secreting a juice called as salivary juice. It also contains an enzyme called as amylase, which helps in converting starch into maltose. So the digestion, that is breaking the complex food into simpler form, has started in the mouth itself, right? Okay, next we all move to the next part of the digestive system. It's nothing but a pipe-like structure. Can you see over here a long pipe-like structure, which we call it as a esophagus or food pipe. What do we call it as? Esophagus as well as the food pipe. It's a tube-like. What a pipe you might have seen, isn't it? The same way, it's a tube-like that arise from the mouth and it will be attached to the stomach. You can see over here, it starts from the mouth and it will be attached to the stomach. What is the function of it? As I told, food pipe or esophagus. What is that? The name itself will tell that it helps in passing the food from the mouth to the stomach. But we cannot say that its function is only passing. See, like what happens when the food enter to the food pipe. So there will be a lot of changes takes place in the food pipe. We'll see what happens in the food pipe. Yeah, you can see over here. So I'll repeat, the food pipe or esophagus is a tube-like structure that arises from the mouth and it will be connected to the stomach. When you just observe the food pipe, inner lining of the food pipe, it has got a muscle, a very special type of muscle it contains. So that type of muscles helps in contracting rhythmically. Contract and the relaxing rhythmically. When you just observe here, the food is now over here. When the food is here, what happened? The movement of the food is over here, and you can just observe here at the top the contracted muscle, and here it is. You can see the shape of the food pipe. It has been expanded, right? So that it will become very easy for the movement of the food. So here, this is one of the special property of the muscles which are present in the food pipe, helps in contract rhythmically in order to push the food forward. This rhythmic contraction of the muscle of the lining of the alimentary canal, we call it as a peristaltic movement. See, it has expanded, again it has relaxed, so easily the food is moving. You can just see over here the muscle contract and even the helps in passing of the food very easily. You can see here how the food has passed into the stomach. So this type of movement we call it as a peristaltic movement. The next, the food, where does it reach? It reaches the stomach. You can observe the stomach over here. The food has reached the stomach. Once if you observe the stomach, it looks like a bag, right? Beautiful bag. Okay, it's a bag like organ and it is a large organ which can expand. When you eat food, it can expand. You might have felt that, I guess. Okay, so the food, once it enter the muscles, the muscular walls of the stomach helps in mixing up of the food. It will help in mixing the food very easily. Apart from that, it has got the you can just see the walls of the stomach. These walls of the stomach, they have got a gland called as gastric gland. What's heard about gastric? You might have heard, I think, gastric. People will be telling, I'm suffering from the gastric, stomach pain, burning sensation. So what is that? Let us see now. So yeah, the walls of the stomach has got a glands called as gastric glands. So this gastric glands is present over here and they will secrete a juice called as gastric juice. And these gastric juice, you can just observe over here. So here, gastric juice. These gastric juice will produce an enzyme called as pepsin. So what is the use of the pepsin? This pepsin helps in breaking the proteins. Our food contains protein, isn't it? So that protein will get converted. It just breaks the protein. So there is an enzyme called as pepsin which is present in the gastric juice, helps in breaking the protein. Apart from that, HCl. Heard about HCl? It's an acid, right? You may ask me the question, why this acid is present in my stomach? Yes, the gastric juice also produce the acid called as hydrochloric acid. What's the function of the hydrochloric acid? Yes, it is very helpful to us. This gastric juice kills the germs which may be present in our food. While having food, some of the microorganisms might also enter. Correct? So to kill the microorganism, this gastric juice which secrete the HCl will help in killing the microorganism, and also it makes the medium acidic. If it is acidic, this pepsin enzyme can break the protein into a simpler form. Then apart from that, the walls of the stomach is also have got a protective inner lining that is known as mucus, because acids are released. So the walls of the stomach should not be get damaged. To protect the walls of the stomach, there is a mucus. So what does the gastric glands produce? It produces gastric juice. It contains an enzyme called as pepsin. It helps in breaking the protein. It also produces HCl, that is hydrochloric acid. It kills the germs which may be present in our food. It makes the medium inside the stomach acidic. Why? Because acidic media is very much necessary for the pepsin to work. Apart from that, the inner lining of the stomach is protected by the mucus. So this mucus will help for the protection of the inner lining of the stomach. So you might have heard that the people complaining that stomach pain, gastric and all. Why? Because of the excess production of the HCl. When hydrochloric acid is produced more, then what happens? The people will be suffering from the burning sensation in the stomach. You know the remedy, isn't it? So because it is an acid, when you take base along with the acid reacts with the base to produce salt and water. This reaction is called as neutralization reaction. That's the reason you'll have a right, antacid. So once you have the antacid, the acidity will be relieved. Why? Because that base which you are intaking, that in the form of the will react with an hydrochloric acid and they form salt and water, and the burning sensation will be reduced. So this is about the stomach. Then after once the food reaches the stomach, these are the changes occur. After that, the food enters to the small intestine. You can just observe here, this is the small intestine. The food will enter to the small intestine. You can see the small pipe-like structure, isn't it? And I can say it is the longest part of the alimentary canal. So it has, which is fitted in a small compact place, isn't it? They have been fitted over there. Correct? And the length of the small intestine will differ from various animal depending on the food what they eat. So here, herbivorous animal, you know what they eat? They eat the grass, and this grass consists of the cellulose. Okay, so this, for the digestion of the cellulose, this herbivorous animal will have the long intestine which will be bigger size. Longer small intestine is present. So why? Because the cellulose has to be digested, and they've got the enzymes also over there which helps in breaking the cellulose, but we don't have that type of enzyme. Whereas the carnivorous animal, which feed on the other animals, that is meat and all, so they'll have a short small intestine, so where, because that food can be easily digested. So depending on the animals what they eat, even the small intestine, the length of the small intestine also varies. Then the small intestine, it is a place where complex digestion takes place, where we saw in the mouth what happened, even in the stomach what happened we saw. Now the main site of digestion occurs in the intestine. So here, for the intestine, they will receive the secretion from the liver as well as from the pancreas, and even intestine will also secrete some of the juice called as intestinal juice. Now we'll see what is the function of the glands such as liver, pancreas and the intestinal glands, and what are the changes occur over here. Yes. Small intestine, as I said, the small intestine will receive the they'll receive the juice, or they'll receive the secretion from the liver, pancreas, and even the intestine also will secrete a juice called as intestinal juice. First, let us see about the liver. This liver will secrete a juice called as bile juice. What juice? Bile juice. And this bile juice, what is the function of the bile juice? They doesn't have any enzyme. Okay, but they will do is, what the function of the bile juice is nothing but emulsifying the fat, breaking the fat. That will be done by the bile juice which is secreted by the liver. As soon as the food from the stomach enter to the small intestine, this liver will start secreting a juice called as bile juice. This bile juice act on the food and it will start emulsifying the fat, breaking the fat into a simpler fat. Then pancreas, leaf-like structure what I showed, even pancreas also will start secreting a juice called as pancreatic juice. So this pancreatic juice consists of the enzymes, bile juice, They were not at all having any enzyme, whereas the pancreatic juice consists of an enzyme called as trypsin and the lipase. What's the function of the trypsin? It converts the protein into peptones, and whereas lipase converts the emulsified fat. The bile has done the emulsified fat, isn't it, broken into simpler form. Again, that emulsified fat again gets converted into fatty acid and the glycerol. So this is the function of the pancreatic juice. Now the work of the liver is also over, pancreas also over. Intestine also will secrete a juice called as intestinal juice that consists of the some of the enzymes. These enzymes help in converting the other complex food into a simpler food. So what are the enzymes present in the intestinal juice? That is maltase, sucrase and peptidase. What does the maltase will do? The maltase helps in converting the maltose into glucose, whereas the peptidase will convert the protein into amino acid, whereas sucrase converts the sucrose into glucose and fructose. Now the food, whatever the food, complex food was there, it has been converted into a simpler food, that is nothing but glucose, amino acid and fatty acid. This simpler food can be absorbed by a cell. Now the complete digestion as completed, and completely the food has been digested. Now we'll see what happens to the digested food. In the walls of the intestine itself, the inner lining of the intestine, you can see over here, villi are present. So these are a finger-like projection. We call it as a villi. So this villi is a finger-like projection which is present in the walls of the intestine, and this is located in the small intestine. Its function is increasing the surface area in order to maximize the absorption of the digested food. Now the whatever the simpler form of digested food is there, it will be absorbed by the villi, and this villi is surrounded by the blood vessels. These blood vessels will absorb the digested food and carry it to the different part of the body, and then later on assimilation takes place. This is absorption is taking place, assimilation, and they use it for the releasing the energy, growth and repair. Now the digested food is absorbed by the small intestine with the help of the villi. Next comes the large intestine. Now the food which is digested is absorbed by the villi in the small intestine. Now undigested food, what is present in the small intestine, will reach the large intestine. What happens in the large intestine now? Now everything, the work is over. No, like why they have to enter to the large intestine? Yes, there is a some function in the large intestine also. Some of the once it reaches the large intestine, so the what happens over there is the walls of the large intestine, they'll absorb the more of water which is present in the undigested food. Then the undigested food will move towards the rectum and it comes towards the anus, and through the anus undigested food will be thrown out from the body. So this is what happens in the human digestive system. So you might have think that once you have the breakfast or lunch, your work is over. I don't know, but what are the changes should occur over there? Once you swallow the food, lot of changes will occur. So you got to know you have got an acids and some of the juices which are present. So remember, human digestive system consists of the alimentary canal and associative glands are also present, which helps in the digestion. So once the food enters through the mouth, it goes to the esophagus, from the esophagus to stomach, then to the small intestine. Then undigested food goes through the large intestine, and through the anus undigested food will be thrown out. So remember, in the mouth there is a salivary glands which also helps in the digestion, and in the stomach there is a gastric glands, they also helps in the digestion. The liver helps in secretion of the bile juice which helps in the digestion. Pancreas will also secrete a pancreatic juice which helps in the digestion. Intestine will also secrete an intestinal juice which also helps in converting the complex food into a simpler food. Am I right? Then the villi will absorb the digested food and undigested food will be thrown out with the help of the anus. So this is how the digestion takes place in the human being. So I hope you understood this concept. So here you can see the chart over there. What and all the changes occur in the mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine. Okay, in the next class, let us learn about the one more important life process, that is nothing but respiration. Thank you.